Hey everybody, how you doing? Happy Saturday night. I'm just gonna try to do some news tonight, go over some stuff. We'll see what happens. If anyone wants to join, I don't know. I wasn't really planning on having any guests tonight. I was just planning on going over some news. But if anybody decides they want to pop in, want to let me know, then I would definitely let them pop in. So hopes everybody's weekend's going good so far. Saturday night's been pretty good for me. Did a little swimming in the pool, hung out, had some food, some chicken tacos. They were pretty tasty, but can't complain. So the first story of the evening is going to be, let me pull this up here. Some stuff been going on. I don't know if anyone knows who Charlie Kirk is, Turning Point USA, or who the SPLC is, the Southern Poverty Law Center. But the Southern Poverty Law Center has kind of a history of messing around and going after conservative groups per se, targeting them and trying to label them as being extremists. And this is really no different from that. Let me make this a little bigger. There we go. So it says right here from Tyler O'Neill on X that breaking news: the Southern Poverty Law Center, which trades on its history bankrupting the KKK to smear conservatives as secret supporters of white supremacy, has put the largest conservative youth organization, Turning Point USA, on the hate map. Okay. Every year, the SPLC puts out a new version of the hate map, partly to scare donors into ponying up cash, and partly to cancel its opponents, cutting them off from polite society. This year, the hate map includes Turning Point USA. The SPLC accuses Turning Point and its founder, Charlie Kirk, of propping up white Christian supremacy. Now, if Charlie Kirk were racist and theocratic, would Turning Point have a presence on more than 3,000 campuses? Well, that's a very good question. They are actually, I think the reason that they're being targeted by the SPLC is because of their growing power. They are making inroads on all types of campuses, and they're making inroads with a lot of young people. Turning Point USA is probably the biggest reason. Well, I don't know if I want to say the biggest reason, but maybe one of the biggest, big reason that young people in colleges are starting to shift away from the left and start, because they're hearing opinions that maybe that they're not used to hearing on a college campus, but now they're starting to hear those things. So here, let me pull this up. So let me pull this up from the Daily Signal. The Southern Poverty Law Center puts largest conservative grassroots youth group on the hate map with Klan chapters. That's Charlie Kirk. I don't know anybody. He's a pretty famous dude. He's all over the place. Got a big head. I don't know. Sometimes people with big heads are smart. You know, sometimes it's just a condition. Just teasing. Southern Poverty Law Center is comparing the largest conservative grassroots youth organization to the Ku Klux Klan, adding Turning Point USA to its hate map that plots KKK chapters and claims to expose the groups upholding white supremacy in the United States. The latest version of the SPLC hate map, released Thursday, lists Turning Point USA for the first time, categorizing the group as anti-government extremist group. The hate map also includes PragerU, a nonprofit that uses digital media to spread conservative ideas, putting it in the same category as Turning Point. Prager University, they're labeling Prager University as a hate group. I mean, aren't they like really religious? I don't understand how PragerU, like the guy, he does like charity stuff all over the place, and he's I don't get it. I don't get how they get away with this. Like, how haven't they been sued out of existence yet? With what they do, they basically just go after people, and they cause lots of problems. It seems like they're. It's almost same thing has been going on with the ACLU lately too. Like the ACLU used to be this great organization back in the '60s and early '70s where they would actually fight for everyone's rights. They would do whatever they could to make sure everyone had a right to speak. And now they only really care about left-wing causes. Like, why the ACLU is fighting for all the immigrants and fighting in court to make sure that the people don't get deported. It's pretty sad that all these organizations that used to do all this good works for the United States and for the people, for the citizens, what they've turned into. They've turned into groups that I don't know. They're just promoting a political agenda in a way. And hey, Debbie, how you doing? Nice to see you. Harley and Remy, nice to see you too. Thanks for let's just say thanks for everyone stopping by. If I forgot to do that in the beginning, but if you send a chat, I'll try to acknowledge it and let everyone know that you're here. So, critics have long accused the SPLC of liberal bias. Well, I just kind of did. I'm not really a critic. I mean, if they did the job that they claim they're actually doing, and they went after hate groups evenly, but it just for some reason all the hate groups they seem to come up with are all on the right. That's all it seems to be, is just people on the right. PragerU told the Daily Signal that the SPLC did not reach out to them before putting the group on the hate map. Well, of course they wouldn't reach out to them. Then they would have to listen to what they have to say and why they shouldn't be on the hate map. No, they didn't even notify us. They didn't. They'd like to know, and if they'd like to know how we feel about SPLC, we have an entire 5-minute video on them titled "The Anti-Hate Group That Is a Hate Group" from Prager Group. Well, I think we might watch that. Turning Point describes itself as the largest, fastest growing youth organization in America, touting a presence on over 3,500 campuses. It has more than 800 college chapters and over 1,000 high school chapters. It aims to build the most organized, active, and powerful conservative grassroots activist network on high school and college campuses across the country. This is from Charlie Kirk saying, I founded Turning Point USA to take the fight for ideological diversity to a progressive stronghold, the nation's leading colleges and universities. Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk said in 2019. Oh, yeah. Yes, Dan, the alliance is the alliance of all American citizens fighting for the American future. And we even include some people in Australia, even though that country doesn't really exist. Just kidding, Dan. You know I love you. The SPLC accuses Turning Point and its founder, Charlie Kirk, of propping up white Christian supremacy. Yes, we're looking at this. This is the hate map. I know many young conservatives all across the country are isolated and ostracized due to their beliefs, he wrote 2013. They are portrayed as bigots, misogynists, and ignorant just because they are conservative. In the SPLC's Year in Hate and Extremism report, released in 2024, released with the 2024 version, the hate map, the SPLC describes Turning Point USA as a well-funded hard-right organization with links to Southern Poverty Law Center identified hard-right extremist groups. So they do the circular thinking where they say, we have these other groups that we say are this thing, bad thing, and then we link you to bad thing, and then thus you are bad thing, and they are bad thing for B. It's like a circular line of thinking that just comes back around and around and around. And it seems, just doesn't seem right. Like they shouldn't be able to get away with smearing people like this. I don't know if there's ever been any violence at any Turning Point US. Anybody from Turning Point USA has ever done any violent acts or done anything violent. All they're doing is telling people to stand up for their constitutional rights. Kind of seems like maybe that's a good thing. I mean, that's actually what SPLC and ACLU claim they used to be for. Yeah, this SPLC states that Turning Point Action, the group's sister 501c4 nonprofit, led Trump's 2024 campaign efforts in key red states. So simply, they are just attacking Turning Point USA because they were effective in getting out the vote for Trump. So this is just Orange Man bad, Orange Man bad. I don't know. This just seems nuts. Yeah, and played a vital role in the election of far-right candidates in Arizona. But there isn't any far-right people elected to any office in this country. There really isn't. I mean, Trump is basically a 1980s Democrat. And that's the truth. Anyone who doesn't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he is. He's an 80s Democrat. He's a Kennedy, John F. Kennedy Democrat is what Trump is. And these Democrats today are just out there. I don't get it. I don't know. I want them to be better. I want them to be normal. I want them to actually, there's tons of things that if these people work together that they could do actually to help everybody and make their lives better instead of focusing on just what they could do for specific little groups of people to get those people's votes. Trying to help the country as a whole, lift everybody up would be better and probably getting out of the way. Government can get out of the way a lot easier than they can actually do something to help. Yeah, so while TPUSA participated on the advisory board of Project 2025, a blueprint to radically reshape the federal government. Yeah, I don't really know if that's true or not about Project 2025. I thought that was the Heritage Foundation. Turning Point USA's primary strategy is sowing and exploiting fear that white Christian supremacy is under attack. What? Okay, see that the way they word that, they're making you. It's a what they call a logical fallacy, where they are asserting that there is white Christian supremacy somehow. There isn't. There is no white Christian supremacy in this country. I don't know if there ever was. I mean, are you going to say that because the founders of this country were mainly all Christians that makes it Christian supremacy? I mean, the whole point of the separation of church and state and no national religion and freedom of religion was to make sure we didn't have any type of religious supremacy in this country. I mean, we have all types of religions that are free to operate. It seems to me that the Christian faith, more than any others in this country, are actually persecuted more by the government and kept down by the government. There was just a ruling out of Nebraska, a ruling out of the Supreme Court. It was a 4-4 even ruling that said that you couldn't, even though it was approved in Oklahoma and Nebraska to get vouchers for Christian schools, charter schools, that way that they can use, you could actually use your money that you're paying in taxes for your kids to go to the schools of your choice. That I think maybe the Oklahoma Supreme Court or something said, no, you can't do that separation of church and state. So, you can't use any government money whatsoever, any tax dollars to go to anything religious, which is ridiculous. That's not what the separation of church and state was all about. It was no government sanction, like government created, government run religion, because we were, when America was founded, we were breaking away from England. England had the Church of England, which was, basically anybody who wasn't part of the Church of England was a heretic, could be punished, could be, they did evil, sick things to people in the 1500s, 1600s, and all over, Christendom. There was the Spanish Inquisition, which isn't the same thing as England, but it was pretty bad. It was what was his name? Thomas 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 More. You know, I think he was put to death, if I'm not mistaken, burned at the stake. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. But I'm not a Christian scholar or anything like that, so don't hold me to it. Turning Point USA's primary strategy is oh yeah, that's what I just did that. Okay. That's under attack by nefarious actors, including immigrants, the LGBTQ plus community, and civil rights activists, claims the SPLC. Well, the SPLC claims to be a civil rights activist, and they are attacking Turning Point USA. So isn't that their self-fulfilling prophecy? Turning Point USA and its spokespeople often warn their audience that their children, wives, religion, way of lives, and they themselves are under attack by various constructed enemies. The report asserts Turning Point USA exploits complicated feelings of insecurity and anxiety to manufacture rage, mobilize support, and revive and maintain a white-dominated, male supremacist Christian social order. Is that, you think Charlie Kirk is a Nazi for real? I don't think he's a Nazi. I mean, the people that are Nazis are the people that are trying to, control your life, lock you in your house, tell you where you can work, take away your kids, and these things that they're trying to do. It's a very, very Nazi-like, I would say. But who am I? I'm just some guy. Well, I'm just Jim, and I tell you. The SPLC notes that while Kirk once urged conservatives to adopt a secular worldview, he has championed Christianity in recent years, aiming to restore America's biblical values. Well, so now, is that really So they're attacking him for, because I think I just saw something too. They were trying to attack Pete Hegseth because he went to some kind of prayer lunch or prayer brunch or something like that, and spoke for prayer. I mean, is that what we're at, where you can't profess any religion? You can't profess any religious faith, because I know there's a lot of religious faith being professed in other religions besides Christianity, and I'm not a person that's out here trying champion or Christendom or anything like that. I'm not a big fan of organized religion at all. I think it's done a lot of harm, in recent times and in history too. It's not the it does good things and bad things, just like anything else. You can't rely on any one thing for your guidance in life. I mean, the Bible's not a bad thing to read, but there's a lot of weird stuff in there too. It says here, a domestic terrorist used the SPLC hate map to target the Family Research Council in Washington, D.C. in 2012. Oh, yeah, that's right. Someone did do that. They went and shot up a thing and killed some people. While the SPLC condemned the attack, they insisted that it never intended to inspire violence against anyone. It just kept the council on the hate, and it has kept the council on the hate map. So they put this group on the hate map and basically signaling to everybody, like, these are evil people. They need to be stopped. They're Nazis. And then, then we see when these people run around, punch a Nazi, do this. And there's that old thing about what would you do, if you could get rid of, baby Hitler. Kind of seeing this stuff, happening. We're seeing stuff happening with this. The left is getting extremely more violent and deadly. You had it with the guy that shot the healthcare CEO in the back in New York. Luigi, whatever his name is, and now this thing that just happened with the communist Marxist dude from Chicago that went and shot the two Israeli embassy workers outside the museum in Washington, D.C., screaming about leftist causes. It seems like the left is getting kind of violent. So maybe just be aware and keep your head on a swivel and pay attention to what's going on around you, because you never know what can happen. The key, look at what they did for 2 or 3 months, keying Teslas, running around going crazy. For what? Tesla, a couple of years ago, Teslas were the greatest thing in the world. The left thought they were awesome. They were, they thought Elon Musk could do no wrong. And then as soon as he stepped out of line, they tried to crash his business, destroy him, and who's the fascist again? Really? I mean, which side is a fascist? What you know? I mean, does anyone remember history and what the fascists actually did? Running around, smashing started out right. You know, Crystal Knock, the night of broken glass. They're running around smashing windows and doing stuff. Kind of what they're doing with the Teslas right now. It's kind of weird. I'm not one to like to compare people to the guy with the funny mustache, but they if one side seems like they act like that, it's definitely not the people that are out here trying to tell people live your life. I don't know. The hate map includes various groups with influence on American conservatism. Alliance Defending Freedom, a conservative Christian law firm the SPLC calls an anti-LGBT hate group, has won multiple cases before the Supreme Court. So, okay. So there's a group of lawyers that take cases to the Supreme Court and win. So obviously they're right. But because they're right on the law, they're calling them a hate group. That seems backwards to me. We have laws to protect people from discrimination. So if there's people discriminating and these people are winning the lawsuits, oh yeah, I forgot Harley. You're right, the guy that tried to burn down the governor's house, another leftist. Yeah, forgot about that one. Sorry. See, that seems weird to me. That seems odd that we keep having this happen. That's all. You know, it says, while the SPLC claims these groups demonize LGBTQ people, the group claims the SPLC targets them because they oppose its agenda on political issues. Okay. So, well, that's that. And then, and here, we're going to look at this. This is another story from the Daily Signal on the SPLC. It says, here's how the SPLC suggests white Christian supremacy is taking over the government. So this should be interesting. Because then maybe they can explain to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're right. Maybe white Christian supremacy is taking over the government. Maybe it's something we all need to be on the lookout for. Maybe they're going to come and take us and make us confess our sins, and force us to drink the wine, force us to take the host. Yeah. Did you know that white Christian supremacy is about to conquer America? The very idea is absurd, you say. Why, you only think that because you haven't read the Southern Poverty Law Centers, you're in hate extremism. Out Thursday. You see, while most America understands that Donald Trump won a second term because the forces manipulating the Biden White House abused the government to force woke ideology on the American people, especially by opening the border and pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion, the SPLC is laser focused on demonizing everyone who disagrees with the unpopular woke agenda. I'm trying. I'm trying to be as down the middle as possible, Juicy. I just I'll make a joke where there's a joke to be made. And 79 Monty, if you can come in. I'm not going to ban you for saying these things because it's America and you have free speech, so you could say whatever you want as long as you don't break any laws or violate the terms of service of YouTube. You can talk all the smack you want about Trump and MAGA or anything else. All right, cool. You see, while most Americans understand, oh yeah, I got sidetracked. Sorry about that. The propaganda it churns out in service of this narrative is unintentionally hilarious. For instance, SPLC admits that there were fewer hate groups and anti-government extremist groups in 2024 than there were in 2023, but it assures readers still to worry the hateful movement of white Christian supremacy is even more dangerous now because it has entered the halls of power. After years of courting politicians and chasing power, hard right groups are now fully infiltrating our politics and enacting their dangerous ideology into law. SPLC President and CEO Margaret Huang said while releasing her report. Extremists all over at all levels of government are using cruelty, chaos, and constant attacks on communities and our democracy to make us feel powerless. We cannot surrender to fear. It's up to us to organize against the forces of hate and tyranny. Okay. This guy wrote a book, it says, called Make Hate Pay, The Corruption of the Southern Poverty Law Center. SPLC made its name for itself, suing the Ku Klux Klan, groups into bankruptcy. Yeah, I think they did sue which 79 Monty? You were in the Gulf War? Cool. Desert Storm? Awesome. Good for you. Thank you for your service. Now it trades on the history by publishing a hate map, plotting hate groups and anti-government extremist groups across the country. This map includes mainstream conservative and Christian nonprofits, along with the KKK chapters, and the implication couldn't be clearer. SPLC's ideological opponents are driven by the same hate that inspired the Klan. In fact, the SPLC report says the map reveals the infrastructure upholding white supremacy. So they believe the system of America is racist and it upholds white supremacy, and the system of America is what establishes the ability for the SPLC to exist. So that would mean that the SPLC is supporting white supremacy. See how I could do that? I could turn it around on them. The most recent report melds white supremacy with this specter of Christians taking power. The SPLC claims that a growing wave of white nationalism motivated by theocratic beliefs and false claims of Christian persecution and white genocide seek to dominate social, cultural, and political life in the United States and craft a Christian fascist state in its own image. Now, I will say there's been I've seen for myself, there's been a weird uptick in people, supporting the guy with the funny mustache online. And I don't know if that's just people being edgy, they're like or people being, being really serious about anything. Everyone should just remember that history is written by the victors of a war. So anytime, all history is written by victors. The people that lost wars don't write the history. You have to remember that anytime you're looking at any history book. You have to try and look at things and find different perspectives. But I think it's gone a little bit too far, and a lot of that has to do with we've gone from the people who are critical of actions of, say, like the Israeli government, to being that those people are being joined by a large group of people who are actually anti-Semitic, and it's blurring the line of what's truly opposing a political opposition of a government to people that are hateful and hate a group of people just because of their nationality or their religion. Of course, the idea that white Christian supremacy somehow exists in the same 2024 that saw the Biden White House celebrate Transgender Day of Visibility on Easter Sunday is laughable. Yeah, what was that? It was on a Transgender Day of Visibility. There was the people getting naked on the White House grounds, flashing their chests and jumping around and everything, which seems pretty crazy. Monty, what I will say is is Trump a dictator? No, Trump is not a dictator. If Trump was a dictator, he would have already arrested all these judges who are ruling against him, which he's not. He's actually listening to them, and following the law and appealing the decisions. If anyone are acting dictatorial or fascistic or shredding the Constitution, it's all these judges who are completely overstepping their bounds and stepping into things that they have no business getting involved in.
Imagine that an organization that brands conservatives and Christians haters and puts them on a map with chapters of the Ku Klux Klan works with the federal government, advising the administration on its domestic terror strategy. This Orwellian nightmare isn't a hypothetical. It actually happened under the Biden administration.
And I can tell you that.
So 79 Monty, all judges follow the Constitution? Oh, no. I don't think you know what the Constitution is, dude. Seriously. I don't want to get in this argument with somebody in the chat, but the bottom line is there's judges that are not following the Constitution. They have no business. Anything that has to do with foreign policy is not anything for an Article 3 judge to have anything to do with. It's completely out of their realm. They cannot order the executive branch to do anything. It's not in their power. All of these lower inferior court judges are not the judicial branch of the government. There's 3 judicial branches of government. One judicial branch is the legislature, or Congress and the Senate. The other one is the executive branch, which is the president. All power of the executive branch flows from the president. It is the president's power. Anyone who executes anything in the executive branch, any 3-letter agency, yeah, the judicial branch is the 9 Supreme Court justices. If you look at the Constitution, it says there is one Supreme Court. And whatever courts Congress establishes, those courts that Congress establish cannot be equal to Congress. Congress controls them. They control their jurisdiction. They control what they can rule on. They are not co-equal to Congress or the presidency. That's the bottom line. Thanks, Mr. K. I was really starting to worry. Yeah. No, a federal judge is not equal to the president. If you think that, you are literally a retard.
We've had many agencies in the new Biden administration reaching out to solicit our expertise and our knowledge and information to help shape the policies that the new administration is adopting to counter the domestic terrorism threat.
That's Margaret Huang, president of the Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization that has long been notorious for exaggerating hate to raise money and for branding its ideological opponents, hate groups, on par with the Klan. As I explain in my book, Making Hate Pay, The Corruption of the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC gained its reputation by suing Klan groups into bankruptcy, but then took the program it used for that purpose and weaponized it against conservatives, partially to raise money through fear-mongering and partially to silence those who oppose its far-left agenda.
So their far-left agenda, that's what they're doing. Is that what everyone thinks? Believable. It's possible.
This hate map inspired an act of terror in 2012, and former staff have come forward claiming that the hate accusations are a highly profitable scam. Even so, companies like Amazon and Eventbrite have used the hate map to exclude conservatives. The SPLC map includes nonprofits like Alliance Defending Freedom, the Family Research Council, Moms for Liberty, and the Center for Immigration Studies, conservative groups that win Supreme Court cases and helped advise former President Trump. These groups are nothing like the Klan, and even liberals like former ACLU President Nadine Strossen said as much. As extreme as the SPLC is, it has worrisome ties to the Biden administration that suggest Huang was telling the truth. The White House has hosted meetings with SPLC leaders and staff at least 11 times, and Biden nominated an SPLC attorney to a top federal judgeship. The Biden administration has used the SPLC to target radical traditional Catholics, and last year, the SPLC added parental rights groups like Moms for Liberty to the hate map. This echoes the Biden White House's work on a letter comparing concerned parents to domestic terrorists. Under Biden, Americans' own government sees law-abiding conservatives as a domestic terror threat, and nothing makes that more clear than the president's ties to the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Well, that was very interesting. Little tidbit about what's going on, what was going on in the Biden administration. Odd. So let's see what else we got here. The Associated Press article on the SPLC report does note the conservatives criticize the SPLC as biased, but it does not mention the SPLC's many scandals. Among others, the SPLC has faced a racial discrimination and sexual harassment scandal that led it to fire its co-founder in 2019. Claims from a former employer that the hate accusations are a highly profitable scam. It is. They make tons of money. They send people and because you got these like older people who are very, older people like 70s, 80s, and 90s and stuff that, they're like, oh my God, I gotta help and I stop the hate, and then send money. They get money off of them, and yes. Accusations of union busting following a round of layoffs, defamation lawsuits, and a terrorist attack inspired by the hate map. Terror attack. They're going to go into what happened, I believe, at the Family Research Council, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a... Anyway, so Seems rather ironic for the SPLC to claim Christian persecution isn't happening. The SPLC is itself one of the major drivers of the movement trying to exile conservative Christians from the public square. I mean, why would anybody want conservative Christians to not speak? I mean, they're not. I mean, trying to equate a conservative Christian to being a Nazi seems ridiculous. Completely not even in the same category of people at all. Seems wrong. The SPLC report on white genocide aims its fire at the Family Research Council, a conservative Christian think tank in Washington's ELC. The SPLC had has long falsely claimed that the council demonizes LGBTQ people by connecting homosexuality with pedophilia. I mean, I don't know about that. A terrorist in 2012 used the SPLC's hate map, which includes the council as an anti-LGBT hate group, to target the Christian group for a mass shooting. A brave employee foiled attack, but the terrorist said he planned to slaughter everyone in the building. The SPLC condemned the attack, but has kept the council on his hate map ever since. What's this? The rest of the weekend? What's that, Pat Hacker? The rest of the weekend is going to be all about meme coin and Politburo trying to show Trump tried to CCP this time. Well, I don't know. You know, this thing, the meme coin stuff, I kind of don't know what he's doing. I don't know why he's doing it. It seems like he's opened himself up for criticism when he doesn't really need to do this. It's like he doesn't need the money. So I don't understand the meme coin stuff. I mean, I don't think he's purposely doing anything to defraud anybody, but I don't get it. I don't know why unless it's his way where he does so much stuff all the time that he's constantly doing stuff and look over here, look over there, do this, so that way he can actually get the stuff done that he wants done. I mean, that's possible. That's quite possible. Yeah, Elegant News, it would be great if they end up in a class action. I think they've been sued numerous times. If I'm not mistaken, a good friend of Good Logic's, Ron Coleman, is actually suing them right now for discrimination against or defaming or slandering some people. It would be interesting to get his take. If Joe would be really great, but I couldn't get a hold of him tonight. I don't know what he's doing. So. We have good news with constitutional historical precedent. Portugal, April 25th, 1974, didn't break the Roman rules. It used them. Okay. Oh, Barron got him into it. It's quite possible that Barron got him into the meme coin, but I don't know. I mean, the meme coin thing to me just seems, like, I don't know, like, why? There's other stuff. I mean, Bitcoin, great. Ethereum, great. These other ones, but this meme coin stuff, it's like that Hawk to a girl coin. Like, I don't know. It seems kind of messed up that they changed the rules to where they don't determine any of these coins to be that they're not monitored by the SEC. And then now he's got the coin. Seems weird, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until somebody shows me that he actually did something illegal. So here's another thing where says that SPLC adds Catholics to the hate map.
Last year, the FBI let us in on a secret. The real threat to America is traditional Catholics. Apparently, Catholics who attend the Latin Mass are a secret cabal of hate, full of anti-Semites and homophobes. This is, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center? Oh, right. That's not a reliable source, and the FBI even admitted as much. When a brave whistleblower published the FBI's report on radical traditional Catholics, the Bureau rushed to rescind the document. More than a year after the FBI publicly retracted the memo, the SPLC has kept radical traditional Catholic hate groups on its hate map. The 2023 hate map, released last week, claims that for radical traditionalist Catholics, anti-Semitism is an inextricable part of their theology. The SPLC.
Hey, SBA Farmer, how you doing? Thanks for the raid. It's everyone counts. Everyone's good. I'm just here doing something. I don't know if you guys are going to like it, if it's going to be good. Trying to do a solo stream. I sent a couple invites to a couple people, but I'm sure they were busy. It was a little last minute, me deciding to go on. So, I'm just going to talk and do the best I can and hopefully entertain you, maybe crack a couple jokes, talk about some news, and see where we go. Well, thanks for coming by.
Branded the Ruth Institute, a small Roman Catholic organization, an anti-LGBTQ+ hate group. Why? The Ruth Institute's founder, Jennifer Roback Morse, restated the centuries-old official position of the Catholic Church on sexuality. If quoting the Catechism is enough to make the Ruth Institute a hate group, then the entire Catholic Church should be considered a hate group. The Biden administration...
Now, last I checked, I thought the Catholic Church kind of was going into the whole supporting LGBT. I didn't know they were really, I mean, maybe was it just the L's, the B's, and the G's, but not the T's? Is that what it is? I don't know. You can't keep track. It keeps changing. I mean, they keep adding letters to the thing. I don't understand that. I can't even keep track. I personally have zero problem with gay people or lesbians, bisexual, even trans people. I don't care. Do what you want to do, live your life. I draw the line at kids. Leave kids alone. That's it. Just don't mess with kids. Hey, low watermark. Awesome. Nice to see you, buddy. Keep an eye on the chat. We've had a couple weirdos in there, so just if you're here, check it out. If you want the link, you actually have the link. It's the same link. It's always the same link. All right.
has reached out to the SPLC for advice in countering the domestic terror threat. President Biden, who calls himself Catholic and goes to Mass, needs to explain why he's relying on an extremely anti-Catholic organization.
Well, I think the SPLC basically targets any, like, let's be real. There's only one religion that gets a free pass anymore in this, from any of these left-wing organizations, and it's the one that actually is the most extreme when it comes to the LGBT. Like, and by extreme, I mean the ones that, like, gonna maybe take them for a walk up to a place and then say, hey, you see that? And then they stop, you know what I mean? Like, woo, yeah. So that's the SPLC's insane claims on immigration. Let's see what these are. Many of the SPLC complaints about the Family Research Council rhetoric on immigration also apply to most conservative nonprofits and news outlets throughout 2024. Among other things, the SPLC condemns the council for covering the Laken Riley's tragic death. Well, I mean, it was a tragic death by an illegal alien, and it was covered in the damn, like, the President's State of the Union. It was brought up by Congress people. It's been widely covered all over the place. So why would they think it's national news, so people are going to talk about it. Covering it doesn't make you anti anything. At the hands of an illegal alien criminal whom the SPLC merely described as undocumented immigrant. Well, see, that's another thing, too. People, they say they're undocumented immigrants, but the vast majority of them have documents. They're just not documents that they're supposed to have. They're stolen documents, fraudulent documents, documents of dead people. But they have documents. It's not theirs. It's not their own. Yes. The SPLC faulted the council for having leapt on the Riley's tragic death, much like how hate and extremist groups mischaracterize crime statistics and co-op tragedies to claim black and brown people disproportionately commit violent crimes. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. I got to read that again because I what are they saying? The SPLC faulted the council for having leapt on Riley's tragic death, much like how hate and extremist groups mischaracterize crime statistics and co-op tragedies to claim black and brown people commit a disproportionately commit violent crimes. Are they trying to claim that statistics and numbers aren't real and math doesn't work on their side of the universe? Because, I mean, I understand that, not all certain groups of people commit crimes, but there's a large portion of a certain groups of people that commit crimes. I mean, there's charts and statistics you can look at, and the numbers don't lie. There is a thing, it's called per capita. Look it up. It matters. The framing is impressively obtuse. The outrage isn't just that Jose Antonio Ibarra lacked documentations. Federal authorities under Biden released him on parole, and then he went on to face charges of child endangerment in New York City, where he again got released, and then got arrested for shoplifting in Georgia. I'm starting to think maybe that's the math that we need to learn. You know, maybe is that the problem? Is that Common Core math they started teaching a few years back? So then now that people just don't understand how math works and they can't look at numbers and just go, you know, math don't lie. Numbers are a thing. Got arrested for shoplifting and then again before committing the murder. This is a case so obviously a failure of federal law enforcement that Democrats joined Republicans in voting for a reform bearing Lincoln's rather name. I mean, how many Democrats actually joined? What was it? The number wasn't, it was like not that many, like if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it was like the Senate, it barely got over the number, if I'm not mistaken, it needed in the Senate. I think it got to 61 or 62, whatever it was, if to get the votes. But yeah, capital is part of capitalism. That's bad. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like he's got all these things that just been getting spun into different stuff with the communists, the Marxists. You got the racial extremists, you know, the supremacists. You know, you got different groups that are trying to push different things all for their own benefit. Not to mention, then they just get rich off of something. You know, I mean, you shouldn't hit the lottery just because tragedy struck your family. You know, it's not the way it's supposed to work. The case galvanized support for Trump, arguably played a large part in a large role in the election. Are we really going to supposed to believe that this all has more to do with white supremacy than just outrage over illegal immigration? I mean, the numbers for against the numbers on immigration and the numbers in support of deporting people, it's not just white people that are in favor of it. I mean, it's vast majority of the public. I mean, it's like 80% of the United States supports voter ID. Like, huge. That's huge. You can't get 80% to agree on pretty much anything. But they all support voter ID, yet not a single Democrat will support voter ID. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why would they do this? Well, most likely because they need people to be able to add some extra votes in where they need them. It's the Chicago way. It's the way it's always been. I mean, I don't know, honestly, if we've had an election that's completely on the up and up since Eisenhower. I mean, there's all the rumors about what happened to get Kennedy to win against Nixon. You know, shenanigans in Illinois, they say. I don't know. I wasn't alive then, but who knows? Ooh, what's this say here? Google search itself says Jesuits and Knights of Malta are Catholic. It's also lying to us about the end of fascism with World War II ending. Oh yeah, I mean, let's be real, all right. There was a plan. The Germans had a plan for after the war, and the plan for after the war was pretty much the European Union. I mean, it's not completely the way it is now, but I mean, they had a plan, and it seems like there's a lot of German-sounding names that are in charge of the European Union. Just saying. It's odd, weird, strange. It can't be that Americans were actually concerned about Venezuela's gangs going door to door with AK-47s in Aurora, Colorado. It can't be that Americans don't like to see thousands of young people killed by fentanyl overdoses. Yeah, that's odd, right? That you know, all the fentanyl deaths. I mean, what is it, like 100,000 a year, 120,000 a year, people dying from fentanyl? You know, you would think, you know, I mean, we lost in the whole entire war of Vietnam, 58,000 people died in the whole entire 10-year, 8-year war in Vietnam, whatever it was, 58,000. But we're losing almost double that a year, or maybe double that a year from fentanyl every year. And it's purposeful. It's you know, not to mention the stuff that's happened with the whole opioid epidemic, what they did to the towns in West Virginia and Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, all over the Rust Belt, pumping that drug into there and getting people hooked on it, and basically giving them no will to work, no will to strive to anything. And it's kind of like, and I am totally against the drug war and drug. I think adults should be able to do whatever they want to do, but it's one thing for an adult to decide to do something. It's another thing for it to be pushed on them or pushed into that way. But it's kind of, in a way, I'm starting to see some things that are making me honestly rethink my opinions, because what's been happening in all these towns and places where marijuana has been legalized, it doesn't really seem like it's helping a lot of people. It seems like, maybe the thing that should happen is it should no longer be a crime to do these drugs, but it shouldn't just be where it's just a free for all out in the middle of nowhere, everything, because there's been a lot of studies lately that show, extreme marijuana use, especially by young people, can cause disorders with the brain, schizophrenia, stuff like that. Literally, like the whole thing about it's odd because the whole thing with the reefer madness that they try to scare people with, the crazy guy playing the piano and stuff back in the 20s and 30s, when they talk about the devil's lettuce and all that stuff, that was insane. Because that stuff but the stuff that they got, the weed that's now is out there, the high THC, 18, 19, 20% THC, that stuff could get you. That'll stuff, man, woof, that'll mess you up. So, it's not anything kids should be doing. So generally speaking, I think there should still be some kind of laws. Even if they legalized all drugs, there should still be some kind of laws that would prevent kids from getting drugs, or, forbidding people from selling to kids, just like we do with alcohol and cigarettes. Maybe the penalties would be a little stiffer for giving it to kids than, alcohol or cigarettes, but, I don't know. I'm just ranting here. Yeah, Mark, this current weed is very different. It's extremely different. But I'm not saying, I don't think anybody should be thrown in jail for having any weed, though. That's not what I'm saying. So the SPLC acts as an enforcer of the left wing stifling orthodoxy, branding as hateful any nonprofit that opposes its agenda. Its targets include conservative Christian law firm Alliance Defending Freedom, parental rights group Moms for Liberty, or the medical watchdog group Do No Harm. Yeah, Do No Harm. I mean, that who can't support that group? That used to be what the medical industry lived on, is do no harm. Now it seems like they're doing a lot of harm, and they just kind of go, hey, we're trying. Oh, let's see. There's a thing from the Michigan Attorney General.
Imagine law enforcement targeted you for surveillance in the name of fighting hate crimes just because you disagreed with the left's narrative on Islam. This Orwellian nightmare isn't a hypothetical. It actually happened in the state where I went to college. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel announced a hate crimes unit in 2019, and she...
what are your guys' opinions on hate crimes? Personally, I don't think hate crime should be a thing. It shouldn't be, shouldn't really be a thing. They've been kind of bastardized over the years, turned into stuff that been stretched and used for no reason. Is the reason you did, if someone gets killed, is the reason they got killed really matter? Is it really that important? Because now we have people being arrested for saying things, just saying words, walking down the street, and they're charged with hate crimes. Seems like that we have this whole First Amendment that should prevent people from getting arrested for things they say. I don't know. That used to be a left-wing position to support people's free speech. There used to be groups like the ACLU that actually would have fought for people's right to say things. They actually defended the Illinois Nazi Party in 1974 because they were denied a permit to march. The ACLU sued, got them their permit. That's how insane it is.
She cited none other than the Southern Poverty Law Center. Yes, that's the same SPLC that puts conservative Christian groups on a hate map with chapters of the Ku Klux Klan. The same SPLC that aims to silence opposition to its woke agenda by branding its opponents hate groups and aiming to destroy their reputations.
I think it's more of what the SPLC actually is about. Malbrain motive is not required for a crime. It's not even part of it. Not, motive is it's not required to prove a crime. So I don't know. But what I'm saying is to call something a hate crime and say like, oh, a guy of this race killed a guy of this race, so we're going to call it a hate crime because they're different races. That's what it's turned into. It has absolutely nothing to do with actual hatred. It's been bastardized. It has. There was a famous case in actuality. The guy, what the hell was his name, in Texas, that they got dragged behind a truck or whatever, and it turned out, and they said he was killed because he was gay, but it had nothing to do with him being gay. He got killed. They were all meth addicts and there was a meth deal that went wrong, and that's what happened. Hey, Julio, nice to see you. Thanks for the $10, Julio. Totally wasn't required. I'm just kind of rambling here and not really, the show's not really, I don't know. We'll see if it goes well, what people say, if they like it or not. That's about all I can say. I'm trying to think, what was his name, guy? It was many, many years ago. I think it was like the 80s or 90s when this happened. It was like this huge, big deal. And anyway, I don't know. We've talked about this long enough, I think. Time to move on to something else. This is the result. This is what the SPLC causes. Stuff like this. This is a story from 2013. A Virginia man sentenced to 25 years in prison in shooting a security guard at Family Research Council. Defendant targeted organization in planned attack. And said this guy, Corkins, was sentenced today to 25 years in prison on 3 felony charges, including terrorism offense. Terrorism. I don't understand that terrorism offense. Like I thought. Well, I guess terrorism they say is just doing some crime for political purposes, right? To achieve a political goal, committing violence acts. Is that what it is? Is that the definition? I don't know. I guess. I don't know. August 2012, shooting of a security guard at the Family Research Council, downtown Washington. Ronald C. Machin Jr., Valerie Parlov, Assistant Director of the FBI's Washington Field Office, and Kathy L. Lanier, Chief of Metropolitan Police. He pled guilty, charges, committing act of terrorism while armed, assault, attempt to kill, state transport of a firearm and ammunition. Is it a crime? I don't understand. How is it a crime to interstate transport? Now, was he what's called a prohibited person? Because otherwise, what is it? It's not. I thought it was totally legal for you to transport a gun across state lines. I mean, state lines really don't mean anything in the United States. I thought there was a specific law that allowed you to do that protected you when you were traveling across state lines. According to the government's evidence, he entered the office, encountered an unarmed security guard. Now, what good is an unarmed security guard? Seriously. What good is an unarmed security guard? What is an unarmed security guard actually going to do in this day and age? It's not like people listen to an authority figure anymore, that they're going to listen to them. I mean, we see every day videos of people getting stopped by the police, and they don't listen, they fight, and they want to argue and debate. Can't hold court in the streets, people. You got to, if the police, police are going to grab you, you're going to have to go with them. You're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to get a lawyer. You're going to have to fight it out. But trying to hold court in the street and argue with them is only going to end badly. And that's just the facts of life. The cops screw up all the time. They violate people's rights. They're not perfect. They're not the devil. They're just people, and they make mistakes. They do things, and they sometimes they murder people. Sometimes they save people's lives. That's just the way of life, just like anyone else. But arguing it in the streets not a way to handle it. Security guards' heroes was the only thing that prevented Floyd Calkins Jr. from carrying out a mass shooting intended on killing as many people as possible. So he didn't actually commit a mass shooting. Security guard stopped him. That's interesting. Interesting. Then we have this canceled for hate. Tech company moves against parental rights group after SPLC attack. So this is kind of what the SPLC does. They'll pick somebody, they put them on their map, they target them in a way to raise money because they always have to find more hate. You know, kind of like the Jesse Smollett thing that he did, and the thing that happened with the noose in the NASCAR guy's stall or whatever. The need for racists, the need for bigots is greater than the supply. You know, they need more, and there's not enough supply, so they have to make stuff up. So they put all these people on these lists and stuff, and then it causes, you know, it actually hurts people. And things like this happen where they get punished by tech companies or businesses. Oh, low watermark. Thank you for 10 gifted memberships. I really appreciate it. Let's see who got them here. Pyramid 7 got a gifted membership. Isaiah, Pike Bishop, Molly Brown, Sandy Thompson, Dirt in My Eye. Nice name. Diana Pond, Kimmy Joe, Krista B, and Daniel Gertz all received a gifted membership. If you guys are here, please say thank you to Low Watermark. He's a great guy. He's usually a guest sometimes. Maybe tomorrow night he'll be on a Sunday night show. We'll see. So thank you very much. Back to this. So it's alarming that we live in a time in America where trained Marxists can have an organization canceled simply because they do not agree. And that's true too. Like, I think a lot of these groups are actually all ran by communists and Marxists and stuff, and they've infiltrated a lot of the levers of power and everything. I mean, they don't deny it, they don't hide it. They'll tell you, you know, capitalism is bad, and you know, we got the Bernie Sanders flying around on private jets talking about fighting the oligarchy. Seems like it's you know, maybe he's you know, how did he get 4 houses or whatever he owns? Where did he get all that money? He's never had a job except for government. You know, he was a member of a commune when he was in his 20s. They kicked him out because he did not do any work to support the commune. He didn't carry his weight, didn't do the stuff. So they had to, you know, he had to go. And what did he do? He jumped into bed with the Democrats in Vermont and became a politician. And oh well. The online events company Eventbrite deleted 2 of the Purple for Parents events scheduled for August and October. Yeah, I think Eventbrite actually just canceled somebody else. I don't know if you guys know a comedian by the name of Josh Denny. He used to have a show on Top Gear, I think, or Food Network or something. He's a funny guy. He had comedy shows that were scheduled in I don't know if it was California or in Boca, and they canceled his thing, just took him off Eventbrite, and he had been doing business on there for like 5 years, and I really don't know what they claim he did. Like maybe just some certain left, you know. The thing about leftists when they get power is they're going to use the power to control, to do things. Oh, okay, Malbrain, you have a good time over there with Yellow Flash. He's a great guy, Yellow Flash. Yeah, so here's this letter they sent. We're reaching out regarding your event, RSVP America, Restoring Future to America, Purity America. Please reply, Eventbrite safety. They refunded all the attendees. You know, Eventbrite email announced does not mention the Southern Poverty Law Center, but the company has a long-standing policy involving the SPLC. So that's probably why Josh Denny got canceled. More than likely. More than likely. From Eventbrite. We review our events using various resources, including the Southern Poverty Law Center's list of recognized hate groups. And if we learn after the fact an event on our platform involved racist or violent conduct or hate speech, We ban all future events by the organizer. So that's odd too, because they'll say they'll ban people for racist stuff, but pretty much any rap show has people using racist language. But it's okay. Seems weird. Just slightly weird, odd, whatever you want to call it. So anyway. Well, right now, I'm not, the show's not over, so no one panic. I'm gonna close out the Facebook and X portion of the show because, well, I usually only go an hour on there, and then I cancel those out. And if people want to watch, they have to come to YouTube or Rumble. So now it's just YouTube and Rumble. So here we go. Let's move on to another story here. I don't know if anyone watched yesterday's show, but we talked a little bit about this Colombian woman that was illegally residing in the U.S. For over 20 years. And she received over $400,000 in federal benefits, legally voted in the 2024 election and everything. I covered this yesterday, but there's also now, we covered this. There's a report saying what she did. Colombian woman unlawfully residing in Boston has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Oh, sorry. Oops, my bad. I boomered that. Colombian woman unlawfully residing in Boston has been indicted by a federal grand jury for identity theft offenses, including receiving rental assistance, Social Security, and SNAP, as well as voter fraud under stolen identity. That's what I mean. When people say they're undocumented, what they really mean is they don't have their actual legal documents. They have other people's documents in the vast majority of cases. Stolen Social Security numbers, fake IDs, and then this is what happens. So she was charged in a superseding indictment, one count of false representation of a Social Security number, one count of making a false statements application of the United States passport, which is weird. So she applied to get a passport. That's ballsy to try to get a passport. Very, very, very ballsy. Pull this up here. This is a little story about it. An illegal immigrant from Colombia residing in Boston was indicted by a federal grand jury. Oh, well, you know what, Joe? That's probably my fault that YouTube didn't, it's okay that YouTube didn't get the notifications out. That's probably my fault because I wasn't sure if I was going to stream tonight. I was trying to talk to some people to see what their plans were. And I made the link late. And so it only, you have to have the link made on YouTube and out for an hour at least to get alerts to go out. That's just the way YouTube system works. So if you don't have the links out on YouTube for an hour, you're not going to get people coming, or they won't get notified. Eventually, if you're in the feed, they'll come in your feed. But generally speaking, if they don't get them out, that's what the information that I had said. I've seen said you need to have the link out for an hour for actually to get the bells to go off. The Amish are cleaning up in the weed industry, are they? Let's see here. Using a stolen identity, was able to obtain 8 state IDs and a Massachusetts real ID. So look at that. She was able to get a Massachusetts real ID. That's a problem because the whole point of the real ID was supposed to prevent stuff like this. But yet she was able to get a real ID. That doesn't make me feel confident about this whole real ID thing. It really doesn't. Really doesn't. DOJ said that Orovio Hernandez fraudulently received about $400,000 in federal benefits. $400,000 in federal benefits. But if you listen to some people, they'll tell you that illegal aliens they don't get federal benefits. That there's no way they can get benefits. But you got to think if people were wise enough and he had enough ingenuity to figure out a way to come into the United States and stay here for years and years and years and work illegally. And I mean, because if you're not here and you don't have documentation that gives you the permission to work, like if you're not a citizen of the United States, you come here, you have to have permission. You can't come here on a student visa and get a job. I'm pretty sure. I think you have to have a work permission, even if you're on a student visa, to work. If you come here on a tourist visa, you can't work. If you come here illegally, you're not supposed to work. Technically, even if you're here for asylum, I think you still have to get a work permit. So it's not like, and these companies that are hiring these people should be punished more. I mean, there needs to be something that needs to happen to prevent. It's supply and demand. There's a demand for cheap labor because a lot of these corporations, they want to make money. They want to make as much money as possible. So they're going to hire people that they can pay less money. I mean, I don't know if anyone's been out and about lately and noticed what you see when you go to a grocery store or a gas station or a McDonald's or any of these places. But generally speaking, you're going to run into a bunch of people that don't sound like they're native-born American. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world. I'm not saying anything that they should all, if they're here legally, that's fine. If they came legally, that's great. If they didn't come legally, then that's a problem. Yeah. She received $400,000 federal benefits, including $259,589 for Section 8 rental housing assistance benefits. Wow. From October 2011 to January 2025, $100,000 in Social Security disability. She was collecting Social Security disability benefits. I mean, that's like the last time I saw numbers, it said there was over 50 million people that are on Social Security disability. I saw a story not too long ago about a whistleblower that worked for one of these companies that when the people come in, the resettlement groups that help the people come in, that was coaching them on what to say in order to receive Social Security disability. Because, if they can come in, they can start claiming these things. Once they start getting on these programs, it's almost impossible to get them out of the country, let alone get them off the programs. It says she also registered to vote and cast a fraudulent ballot in 2024 election. So do we believe she didn't vote in 2020? Or they're just not going to say 2020 because, that might upset some people because, there was that whole thing about 2020. Maybe. According to the DOJ, she was charged with 1 count of false representation of a Social Security number, 1 count of making a false statement in an application for a United States passport, and 1 count of aggravated identity theft, 3 counts of receiving stolen government money or property, and 1 count of fraudulent voter registration, 1 count of fraudulent voting. I mean, I'd really like to know, there was a whole thing with a guy from the Doge thing. They were looking at how many illegals were registered to vote, and they were finding, like a lot, just picking numbers, just grabbing names and just looking them through, and they were discovering a lot of people just so I would probably put the number at over 1 million. From what the stuff I've seen, there's probably well over 1 million illegal aliens registered to vote. There's a lot of states, you get a driver's license, they just automatically register you to vote. Just do it automatically. So, I don't know. How's everyone going so far? Everyone's okay? Show's good, no problems. And I know there was a couple people in the chat that seemed like maybe they had a bone to pick, or they don't like, they think this is like a super MAGA show, which, I support the president. I think there's nothing wrong with making America great again. But I'm also willing to listen to anybody else if they have a good idea or some, plan. I'm not going to, say like, oh, I can't listen to that because, whatever letters next to your name. I think that's ridiculous. But here's another story, which I'm sure everyone knows who this is. This is Laura Loomer, which I'm not, her. Sometimes she gets stuff right. Sometimes she gets stuff wrong. But in this case, I looked into it, and it appears to me that she's on to something with this story. So I'm going to cover it, and if it turns out that all this information is wrong, I will actually do a video and say that a correction or whatever. So let's see what this says. It says conflict of interest. Senator Van Hollen hatred for Rubio traced to daughter's employment at State Department under Biden. Van Hollen didn't disclose his daughter's employment at the State Department when he attacked Marco Rubio. Well, don't we have laws? Is there laws, nepotism laws, where if somebody's if somebody's in, I mean, is it possible to have nepotism laws for the federal government? I don't know. Probably not. You know, I mean, there's probably not any way to have nepotism laws. But I know a lot of states have nepotism laws. Like if you're got a family member that works for a county, you can't run for a countywide office and stuff like that. Certain things, but so here's the story here. It says, let me make this a little bigger so everyone wants to read it. So, conflict of interest. Senator Van Hollen's hatred for Rubio traced to daughter's employment at the State Department under Biden. We probably do need to scale back a lot of the welfare programs. It probably needs to focus really on the needy, the actual needy. You know, I don't know, how do you do that nowadays? How do you really determine who the needy is? You know, society was probably a lot better when we had more charity from actual charity from groups. You had these organizations that provided stuff to their community. You had guilds that provided medical care. You know, all these different organizations, guilds. You had a guild system before all this medical system we have now that worked great. You know, you were a member of a group, the United Order of Eagles or the Masons Lodge or whatever, Shriners, different things, and they would provide you, you know, you paid your fee and you could go to the doctor. Your family had a doctor that was there at the thing. You could go see him and it didn't cost you anything. You went and saw the doctor. That was great sometimes. Way before my time. I'm, you know, not that old, but, you know, these things existed. And the government stepped in and the AMA and they kind of booted everyone out. And then, next thing you know, now this is a system we have where we have basically these middlemen, insurance companies that are basically getting rich. Oh, you were on I'm sorry, you were on X. I don't like to run it on X all night long. Heretics, just I want to get people over to YouTube or Rumble to watch, really. So I put it on X and also on Facebook for like an hour of the show, and then tell people come over to Rumble or YouTube to, you know, if they want to finish watching it. It's like I don't know. I don't know if it works. I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't. I'm learning how this all works. Because no matter how much I abhor your political analysis, Flash and Tom wreck your head. Well, I could see why you say that. You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I used to watch Flash years ago. Occasionally, I'll still watch it if there's nothing else on. You know, for some of his takes. I mean, Mal Brain, I'll just say, my political analysis is just my personal opinion, and I don't claim it to be, you know, like the end all be all of anything. I'm just here talking, and I would gladly have a discussion. If you want to have a discussion with me about it, we can have a discussion about politics and, you know, change my mind, as they say. So anyway, so here's this thing. So this is Van Hollen. This is the guy who went down to El Salvador to have margaritas with the MS-13 dude. And you know what, Mal Brain? That's what's great, and that's what we really need to get back to, is being able to disagree with somebody and talk about it and not get angry. I mean, I try not to get angry at people. You know, there's really not a reason to. Unless they're going to, you know, actually physically do something to harm me or someone, you know, then time to get angry. But other than that, political disagreements, you know, it happens. And, you know, we have elections, and sometimes people win, sometimes people lose. And, you know, we all just, I hope we all just want America to be a better place for everyone. Oh, God, I said that, and now my viewers just dropped by 20. Investigative journalist Laura Loomer. Is she really? Come on. I mean, is Laura Loomer an investigative journalist? Is she? Is she? Is she really? I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe. I mean, I guess she investigates stuff. I guess I don't know. Somebody feeds her stuff, but she uncovered a potential conflict of interest involving Senator Van Hollen and his vocal opposition to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. At the center of this revelation is Van Hollen's daughter, Anna Van Hollen, who previously served as senior advisor and speechwriter in the Biden-Harris State Department. Oh, so well, then how would nobody know? If she was the senior speechwriter, then people knew. People knew, and her name is Van Hollen. I mean, you tell me people didn't put that together? That they were related? I don't get it. I mean, it's not like a lot of times when you have these like judges or these other politicians, that have wives and they don't have the same last name, and then they have jobs, and so people don't know that that they're related because they don't use the same last name. So then people don't get it. That happens a lot, and then they get by and sneak it through. But this, I mean, I don't see how nobody knew. Her public records reveal a history of pro-Palestinian rhetoric. Well, okay, she's pro-Palestinian. I guess, you have a right to be pro-Palestinian. There's no law against it. Raising new questions about whether her ideological leanings have influenced her father's political posture, particularly his hostility towards Rubio over the deportation of jihadi students. Now, if they're jihadi students, I can see them getting deported. If they're just people that are pro-Palestinian, I don't know, I mean, they should, as long as they're not breaking any laws, right? I mean, they should have a right to say what they want to say, as long as they're not breaking any laws. Loomer's investigation reveals that Senator Van Hollen's opposition to Rubio may stem from the Trump-era State Department's action in deporting pro-Hamas agitators, many of whom share Anna Van Hollen's policy positions. The connection raises serious ethical concerns about whether personal and ideological affiliations are driving the senator's public conduct. Hey, Patrick Summon, nice to see you. There's actually rumors about that, Malbrain, but I don't know. I think she sued or threatened to sue. Didn't she sue or threaten to sue Bill Maher for saying something like that? So I don't know. Possible. Well, thanks, Patrick Simon. It's nice to see you. I hope my goal is just to talk about some news and politics stuff, and hopefully hopefully not really offend anybody, or I don't know, maybe have a conversation with some people, talk to the chat, see what people think, take their opinions in, see what they like, what they don't like. I'm sure there's going to be some people that say they'd like me to just shut the camera off and go away, but I'm not going to actually do that, I don't think. So we'll just try to make the best of it. So, according to financial disclosure records, Anna Van Halen was employed by the U.S. State Department as of October 28th, serving as a speechwriter. She currently, did I already read this? So these are the records. Which senior speechwriter Anna Van Hollen. Professional biography published by the Asia Group outlines Anna Van Hollen's career across several influential democratic policy institutions. In addition to her most recent State Department role, she served as Director for International Economics at both the National Security Council, the NSC, and the National Economic Council, the NEC. She also was an International Affairs Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR. Yeah, Q Revere. They made me send them a video in to prove that, I don't know, to prove I wasn't a bot, maybe. Something. I had to send in a video to show them how I make, showing what I use to make videos and how I do it. It was confusing to me because I wasn't sure why they wanted me to be naked. But other than that, it seemed to go right. And then, they got it and they monetized me right back. Yeah, Pet Hacker. I don't understand why Laura Loomer is making such a big deal about this. Is it because she works for the State Department? Does she still work for the State Department? Like I said, I don't know. Is there nepotism laws that are saying this is wrong? I mean, she's making it sound like he should have disclosed. He should have disclosed it. Like, I don't know. Like, technically, if she still works for the State Department, she works for Marco Rubio. So, I mean, and that's another thing too, which I don't really buy. Senators, these senators are all like buddy buddy. They all hang out together. There's not really any senators besides like maybe Rand Paul and maybe like maybe Ted Cruz that doesn't get along with these people. And it seems like maybe Fetterman's on the outs with a lot of them. But other than that, they're all hanging out and slapping each other's back and fist bumping and all this stuff. And so I don't see why this is really such a big deal. I thought there was more to this, so history of pro-Palestinian advocacy. I mean, she has a right to do this if this is what she wants to do. It's not against the law. Before entering government service, Anna Van Hollen led the policy planning team at Meta and worked at a freelance. Now that's the thing that I see that I notice a lot, and I don't know if you guys notice it. It seems like there's this, you know how there's certain in government you have the people that work for the Food and Drug Administration. They seem to go, or for HHS and the conversation. They all seem to get jobs then later working for like pharmaceutical companies or somewhere in that field. That they used to regulate this field, and then all of a sudden they end up with big jobs in the field. Also seeing is a very large amount of people that worked in like the White House or in State Department and communications that also work with like Twitter, and Facebook, Instagram, and also go to work for media, like media organizations like CNN, not just CNN, I don't want to single out CNN, but any media organization, not to mention you got the Operation Mockingbird with the CIA sending their people into the media, but that's, neither here nor there. But it's weird how it seems they go back and forth, and then the Trump administration is no different. I mean, look at all the people that he got out of Fox News, to come into his thing. It's weird. It's weird to me that it goes back and forth like that. Any administration where you got people in and out, and it's, I mean, I think we were better when we had people that were just like farmers and businessmen and everyday citizens that just went and served did something for a short period of time, served the country, when it was actually public service, when you actually served the country, when you did something and it wasn't to get rich. I mean, why we have politicians that just get rich and go there and become rich? It seems like it's not supposed to be like that. Like it should be different. Why would somebody spend to become a U.S. senator? Why would somebody spend, $300 million, $400 million? I'm gonna change stories. I don't really see this going anywhere. It doesn't really seem to me like it's that big of a deal. Oh, here's something. I don't know if you guys remember the stuff that happened in Michigan in 2019, 2020 before the election with the Whitmer kidnapping plot. That there was a lot of entrapment and 11 undercovers or informants with 4 other guys. A bunch of people got acquitted for entrapment reasons, and then I think 2 guys got convicted. Like 2 guys got retried, and then they had to. And then whatever happened, the judge prevented them from arguing that they were entrapped, and so they got convicted. So there's an investigation now from the U.S. Department of Justice into that to see if maybe shenanigans were at play and that these guys should get pardons or something. So, an email seeking comment from Whitmer's office wasn't immediately returned Friday. She got nothing to say because she knows she was complicit. So you got kudos to Brenda Morrell and Martin for speaking up for innocent man. So here's it is. This is out of the Detroit News. See, the U.S. Department of Justice pardon lawyer pledges hard look at plot to kidnap Michigan governor. I hope somebody does. It seems like those guys, like the one guy seemed like borderline mentally deficient. Like he, like they took advantage of him because he didn't know, It happens a lot. It happens actually to a lot. The FBI does it a lot to Muslims that trick them, do stuff. They go and basically a guy that was never going to do anything, and they coax them into doing something, and then they end up saying they start up this whole thing, and then they say we stopped a terrorist attack when it would have never been a terrorist attack if you didn't start getting these people riled up, going into mosques and stuff, and doing it. So it's not just they do it. This happens. Michiganer here, it's tough here in the People's Republic of Michigan. Yeah, I was kind of shocked, Patrick, 7 too. Like not to go off on a tangent. That case of the kid who's Crumbly, whose parents got charged for him doing that thing at the school. I don't understand what the parent. I don't understand. Really what happened. They kind of let it go up to the Court of Appeals in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, and the Supreme Court. They kind of just said, well, let's let this play out and see how it goes, and then we'll decide later. Let's just say the FBI was involved in the kidnapping plot, was also involved in some really weird stuff, including extracurricular swinger parties, spousal abuse on January 6th. Yeah, that guy, right, was did some weird stuff, and then the guy that was in charge of this, if I'm not mistaken, pretty sure, also went and became in charge of all the stuff on January 6th, that whole thing, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Now let's see what this story says here. The U.S. Department of Justice, new pardon attorney, said he is going to take a hard look at 2 men who are serving long prison terms for leading a conspiracy to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. On the pardon front, we can't leave these guys behind, Ed Martin Jr. said this week on the Brianna Morellis show. In my opinion, they are all victims, just like January 6th, Martin said, referring to the 1,500 people pardoned by President Donald Trump for crimes related to January 6th. Now, there was some people, I would say, on January 6th that should have got punished for doing certain things. Anybody who broke the doors down or broke the windows. Now, if those people who happen to have been federal agents or informants, because we know there was a report I saw that they know that informants or whatever you want to call undercovers went into the Capitol and they're never prosecuted and did stuff. Now, were they the ones participating in the some of the violence and stuff, egging it on? Like, what did that guy whisper in that guy's ear right before they started attacking the barrier? I mean, what was said there? I don't know. We're never going to know. But just seems like we in this country we used to lean in the direction of if there's any question, like if it's like, wait a minute, this could have been the government, screwing around here, messing around, then we would say, nope, that's it, game over, no, case dismissed. But now it seems like we've gotten to the point where they're gonna try and put you in jail, and they're gonna do what they can, just like with this whole Karen Reed case, where it seems weird. Like, I don't see it. I don't see how they're coming. Anybody who's ever seen someone hit by seen someone get hit by a car, generally they get bruises and stuff on them. Like I didn't. And you guys will realize I kind of go off on tangents sometimes. I start talking about stuff and my mind wanders and I say things. So if you yell at me in the chat and say get back on track, and I will. But the arrest of Barry Croft Jr. and Adam Fox. Now I think it's the Adam Fox guy, if I'm not mistaken, seems a little possibly slow. I don't want to slander him anyway, but he just seems like maybe he's not a 140 IQ or anything like that. Another anti-government extremist rocked the home stretch of the 2020 presidential election. Authorities said the cabal wanted to grab Whitmer, a Democrat, at her vacation home and start a civil war. Croft 49 and Fox 42 were portrayed as leaders of the scheme. I don't think the one guy was like sitting in his basement, his mom's basement, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Steve Hiller, that's my point. Like Crumley case, I just didn't understand and how the both parents got convicted, for the same stuff. Like they charged a kid as an adult. So if you charge a kid as an adult, how are his parents responsible? There's, generally speaking, there's this in criminal law, there's like you can't be held responsible for negligence if there's an intervening event that happens that, like someone's criminal act. Like if if the kid would have done something and accidentally harmed people, I could see the parents getting for negligence but he purposely did it, so it's an act. And I don't understand how you could say that they were negligent by someone else committing a crime. It's kind of and something everyone should pay attention to this country. It's kind of what they're trying to do and what they want to do. That's why a lot of states are trying to push this mandatory insurance for people that own guns. To own guns, or if you own guns, you have to have insurance to say that if somebody steals your guns and shoots somebody with it, that you insurance to cover that. That's mind blowing. It's just another way that they want to try and restrict your rights and put more impediments in way for people that are that actually would really need to have the right to defend themselves, that live in bad neighborhoods. Generally speaking, people in rough neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods, high crime neighborhoods, they're low income people, so they don't have a ton of money to spend on things. So all these fees and requirements, a lot of places like California have extremely crazy prices to get a carry permit. I think it's $1,500 in either San Francisco County or LA County or something like that. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. Like if you're a person making minimum wage, how could you afford that? How could you possibly afford that? Yeah, I mean, we should have drew the line with the cars. We should have said at the time when they mandated car insurance, we should have said no. People should have said no, you can't mandate insurance. And then they, what did they do? Then they tried to mandate health insurance. Next, they're going to try to mandate, firearm insurance, which is weird. What's next? They're going to mandate speech insurance, that you got to have insurance for talking in case you. Yeah, it's unlawful tax on the Second Amendment, but the NFA is an unlawful tax on the Second Amendment. The NFA is unconstitutional facially, in my opinion. I'm not a Supreme Court justice, but I would say that the whole reason they started with a tax is because they thought they could get away with a tax as opposed to any type of restriction or ban on the actual people owning it. Because absolutely nothing was made illegal in the NFA. A lot of people don't, modern day people don't understand that, but it's just they put a tax on things. It wasn't until the Gun Control Act, the GCA, that they actually started banning things and banning people from, and that was 1967 or 68, I believe, from owning firearms or being able to possess firearms. And there ain't going to be no Gold Dome. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It's going to be expensive. I don't know if we need it. I don't know. I think honestly, I'd be more worried. I'm kind of worried if they were to do something like that, because it would give a president, any president, the idea that he could do something to another country and that they couldn't respond to us. That, like we'd be safe and protected by our Golden Dome, which isn't a good thing. The whole deterrence, bad, mutually assured destruction and all that. That's kept us all alive for the past 60 years, 70 years, or whatever it's been since the atomic age started. And I don't think, we did have a treaty, an anti-ballistic missile treaty, and I think it was Bush that exited us out of that, which probably, I don't know if that was a good idea or not. I don't know. But I think we should, the United States shouldn't be involved in any war anywhere in this world unless unless something is an actual threat to the existence of the United States or its people. We shouldn't be going to war over other people's problems. Enough said. The arrest of Croft and other, so it starts Civil War. Croft, 49, portrayed as leaders of scheme. They were convicted of conspiracy in federal court, Grand Rapids, Michigan. In 2022, Croft, a truck driver from Delaware, was also found guilty of a weapons charge. Croft was sentenced to nearly 20 years in prison, while Fox, a Grand Rapids man, got a 16-year term. They are being held at prison in Colorado, the most secure in the federal system. Well, I mean, if it's a federal crime that they were charged with, not a state crime, I don't know why they don't just look into this. And if they believe, I mean, if the feds, they don't need to even pardon them. The Justice Department, if they discover that there was entrapment or there was a violation of the rights, they can just go into court and say, hey, we want to dismiss these charges. This has got to go away. This was what happened. It wouldn't need to be a pardon, really. But, if I believe they were entrapped, I believe there was shenanigans. And I think that this should be borne out in to a way that everyone knows it. If they just pardon them, then people are going to say, look at this. They're pardoning people that were trying to, kidnap a Democrat. And you're not going to ever be able to convince these people that it was a setup, that it was a, entrapment. So, they should lay these facts out for everyone to see. I guess we're probably going to have to wait till, after we get the Epstein files and the Diddy files and the JFK files and all these files we've been waiting on, which, where are they? Say, what's up, Sheila Marie? I trust Trump. He didn't get briefed because Biden took it away after he became president-elect. He learned about the state of our military affairs, military threats. If Trump says we need a golden dome, I trust him. Well, I mean, the scary thing is, like, I don't think, the scary thing is a country or a people that aren't afraid to annihilate themselves. There are some, that think that the end of the world would be a good thing. If those people get nuclear weapons, that would be bad, because there's nothing to stop them from just saying, whatever, and letting them rip. But, it's possible, it's not a bad idea. I mean, Reagan thought it was a good idea in the 80s. If it's something that's feasible that will actually work, sure, why not? I mean, Trump's also talked about trying to get everybody to get rid of some nuclear weapons to try to, what's this? Charlie Kirk U.S. commentary. Yeah, I saw that story about the Judge Dugan. I thought it was 8 years in prison for obstructing ICE. From what I saw, she was indicted. It's a max of 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe am I thinking of the other one, the one that punched the ICE agent? I don't know. Let's keep reading here. Whitmer was never physically harmed. Martin called it Fednapping plot, not a kidnapping plot, apparently referring to the numerous undercover FBI agents and informants who had infiltrated the group and built the case. Yeah, generally speaking, I would say any type of Fed operation where there is more federal agents and informants and undercovers or whatever you want to call it, confidential human sources, CHSs, than there are actual criminals, generally would be seem like they're steering it, and that might be an issue. I think the way what they try to do is they try to say, like, it doesn't matter. Nowadays it seems like a lot of judges let people get away with it. Oh, Steve, no, you're fine, buddy. Anytime. I'm just doing a little stream here. I wasn't sure. The notification went out real early, like real late. I mean, it was like 10 o'clock. I put a notification out that I was going to go at like 10:20. So it's not, nothing. And, I appreciate you being here. It's great. Hit the like button and all that stuff. And I really appreciate it. No worries. And it says, so he said it looked like the weaponization of government. I have complete confidence that we're going to get a hard look at it. The president will want to know the facts about it and get on it as quickly as promised. The email seeking comment from Whitmer's office wasn't immediately returned. In 2020, she blamed Trump for stoking mistrust and fomenting anger over coronavirus restrictions, refusing to condemn right-wing extremists. Later, when he was out of office, Trump cast doubt on the kidnapping scheme, calling it a fake deal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, she was one of the worst governors as far as locking down and doing stuff. And there was seems like they wanted, if I'm not mistaken, there was a bunch of protests at the state house of Michigan, and people went with guns, like armed, open carry stuff. And I think they were trying. I think they wanted that with January 6th, but people were too too smart to fall for that, because showing up in DC, which is crazy. You know what I mean? When you really think about it, like, we have a Second Amendment in the United States. Everyone has the people have the right to keep and bear arms, but in the District of Columbia, a federal jurisdiction, which the feds, the Second Amendment, up until the 14th Amendment was ratified, and even after, it took a long time for the Supreme Court to actually state that certain amendments to the Constitution were actually on the state, were enacted on the state, or whatever. I can't think of the word, on the state, but federal jurisdictions like the District of Columbia, you would think which should have supreme Second Amendment protections, but they don't. I mean, that case about DC versus Heller, which said people have a right to own a handgun because there was tons of jurisdictions that were trying to outlaw handguns. So that came out of DC. So that's just weird. But anyway, see, there I go, tangent. That it? That's it. That's the it on the story. So hopefully we'll see Ed Martin. Maybe he'll look into this. Maybe something will get done. Maybe something will happen with that whole thing, and they can get it taken care of. Oh, my camera went off. Let's see here. Oh, and I don't know if you guys remember Carter Page at all. Carter Page, the guy that they tried to frame as a Russian agent when he was actually a CIA spook, and he was working with the CIA to spy on Russia, and yet the FBI changed the documents and got a FISA warrant, did all this stuff to try to go after him, to try to somehow tie Trump to Russia, the whole Russiagate stuff, that was all a scam. Well, he sued, okay? Carter Page sued, and his case got thrown out. They said, you can't sue the government. They have qualified immunity. And so he appealed it, and unfortunately, the appeals court said, nope. So here it is, decided May 23rd, 2025. I would hope Carter Page would get something too, but it doesn't appear that he will, unless he appeals it up to the Supreme Court and they actually take the case, which they might take the case. He sued James Comey and the FBI, and a bunch of people argued it. And it says here, opinion concurring in part, dissenting in part, filed by Judge Henderson. Well, the bottom line is, where's it say? Carter W. Page appeals the district court's dismissal of his Second Amendment complaint for failure to state a claim. Page filed an action against the United States, the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as well as current and former known and unknown FBI officials. Among individual defendants, collectively appellees, alleging that the FBI unlawfully obtained 4 warrants to electronically surveil him pursuant to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. The appellees leaked it to the press information obtained pursuant to those warrants, giving rise to liability under FISA and Patriot Act. Page alleged that as a result of the public revelation of his this unlawful surveillance, he suffered reputational harm, pain, and suffering, and lost lucrative business opportunities. Ultimately, the district court dismissed Page's claims, finding them either time-barred or insufficiently pleaded. For reasons below, we are unanimous in affirming the dismissal of his claims on the grounds they are conclusively time-barred. So there was a time bar. Huh. I wonder what the timing bar was. That's something I'm going to have to, maybe I'll have to have Joe look into this and see what the deal is with this. So Judge Henderson sends only so far that she would have allowed Page's disclosure or use claim to proceed. She parses that claim into district stand. She would hold first that the claim that certain defendants used FISA-derived information to apply for ensuing warrant applications should not be dismissed as time barred without first allowing discovery into whether, once Page knew he was subject to FISA warrants, he knew or reasonably should have inquired into FISA warrant renewal requirements. So yeah, so they said that this guy should know
he should have known that the secret court had given warrants to spy on him and what the requirements were of the secret court that nobody knew about. So it was his fault for not knowing. You know, I think I'm gonna call it a night, guys. I appreciate everybody coming on. I believe Nick is streaming. Yeah, Nick is streaming right now. I will see if I can figure out how to do this to raid Nick's stream. Does anybody know how to do that? Dashboard. Content. Never done this before. Let's see if it works. Redirect. Here we go. Huh. Oh, he won't let me. So he won't let me redirect to him. So it's barred. See, it says it won't let me redirect to him. Yeah, Steve, I understand. And that's kind of why I did this one this way tonight, because I don't like all the swearing either on the streams. YouTube doesn't like it at all. And so I'm going to try and do more like this. And if I have guests, it'll just be guests that know to try and not swear so much, because it was too much last night. It got a little out of hand. So I understand. I appreciate it. And, you know, I don't think I swore once during this whole show tonight. So. Well, folks, I guess that's it. I think I'm going to wrap it up. I was going to try to, unless I message Nick and ask him to let me redirect, but I don't know. He doesn't really need these views. I guess he's doing okay. So, but, anyway, thanks, folks. I will be streaming tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully, I maybe have one guest or two guests. Maybe if Joe wants to come on, that would be great. But I want to thank everybody for coming, and hope to see you all soon. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, and see you all tomorrow.